But first today, in a pair of newly public documents, we've learned brand new details about both Donald Trump and his lawyers' attempts to overturn American democracy and the special counsel's attempt to hold him accountable. The first document we learned about is yet another coup memo, dated exactly 1 month before January 6th. It is authored by Trump election lawyer Ken Chesebro, believed to be one of the unindicted co-conspirators mentioned in the Jack Smith indictment. And it expands on the so-called fake elector scheme and the efforts to pressure Mike Pence to hand the election to Trump. Quote, I believe that what can be achieved on January 6th is not simply to keep Biden below 270 electoral votes. It seems feasible. The vote count can be conducted so that at no point will Trump be behind in the electoral vote count unless and until Biden can obtain a favorable decision from the Supreme Court. In other words, a scheme to declare Trump the winner over the will of the people and to force Biden to try to claw back his legitimate small d Democratic victory via the 6-3 Trump Supreme Court. So that's one document we got today, but it's not all we learned today, because we also got a newly unsealed legal filing from the January 6th case, revealing that the special counsel successfully gained access to the ex-president's Twitter account earlier this year, but not without a fight from the company's new right-wing owner, Elon Musk. Back in May, it was first reported that Smith's team was feuding with a major tech company in some capacity. The details of the fight were unclear based on the available court records at the time. So now we know precisely what went down, at least part of it. As part of his investigation, Smith deemed it necessary to view the inner workings of Trump's Twitter account, although it's not currently clear what exactly he was looking for. Per the legal filing, quote, on January 17th, 2023, the government applied for and obtained a search warrant that directed Twitter to produce data and records related to the real Donald Trump Twitter account. Based on affidavits, the district court found probable cause to search the Twitter account for evidence of criminal offenses. In other words, Smith was able to convince a judge that there was reason to believe Donald Trump's Twitter account contained evidence of crime, probable cause, constitutional standard. Now, at the time, Twitter was newly in the hands of that gentleman there. You probably know him, Elon Musk, who was very busy building a public image as a right-wing troll. And the company was operating in such a state of manifest dysfunction, Smith's prosecutors could not even get through to them initially. I quote again, the government faced difficulties when it first attempted to serve Twitter with the warrant. On January 17th, 2023, the government tried to submit the papers through Twitter's website for legal requests, only to find out the website was inoperative. 2 days later, the government successfully served Twitter through that website. Okay, so Smith finally gets through to Twitter on the 19th. The deadline to comply with the warrant is the 27th, about a week later. Let's see how that went. Quote, on January 25th, when the government contacted Twitter's counsel to check on the status of Twitter's compliance, Twitter's counsel stated that she, quote, had not heard anything about the warrant. 2 days before the deadline, Twitter's lawyer says she had no idea there was even a warrant from the Department of Justice in the first place. At this point, not only was Musk running Twitter in a total state of chaos, according to all public accounts we have, it was clear that he would stop at nothing to court controversy and attention for his $44 billion vanity purchase, which was very quickly losing value. After all, he was already using the platform to spread misinformation, to platform neo-Nazis and white supremacists, and, as he told CNBC, nothing could stop him from keeping things as chaotic as possible.
Do your tweets hurt the company?
There's a scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
Where he confronts the person who killed his father. And he says, offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care?
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay, that last part is going to be important in just a second. So here's the crucial part of this whole ordeal. Smith's prosecutors had to take steps to ensure that Musk would not spill the beans about the search warrant. Quote, the government applied for and obtained a non-disclosure order which prohibited Twitter from disclosing the existence or contents of the search warrant to any person. The district court found that there were reasonable grounds to believe that disclosing the warrant to former President Trump would, quote, seriously jeopardize the ongoing investigation by giving him, wait for it, an opportunity to destroy evidence change patterns of behavior, or notify Confederates. Put more simply, later in the filing, quote, the whole point of the non-disclosure order was to avoid tipping off the former president about the warrant's existence. Now, Musk was apparently not happy he couldn't tell Trump about the search warrant. 4 days after the initial deadline, he challenged the entire process. 4 days after the deadline, he challenged, okay, on the grounds he had a free speech right to spill the beans regarding this ongoing criminal investigation of the ex-president of the United States. Quote, in its motion challenging the non-disclosure order, Twitter argued that the order violated the company's First Amendment right to communicate with its subscriber, the guy who abandoned the platform, former President Trump. So Musk is saying, we're not going to cooperate with your warrant until court rules on whether or not I can talk about it. And then the court ruled against Musk. Moreover, they held Twitter in contempt for again missing the deadline to comply with the warrant, which means in addition to access to Trump's account, the company had to fork over $350,000 in fines. If you are shocked and surprised today to learn that Jack Smith got access to Trump's account, whatever private messages might be contained therein, know you may not be alone. Donald Trump claims that he is as well. Today he posted, quote, just found out that crooked Joe Biden's DOJ secretly attacked my Twitter account. They didn't attack it. They just served a warrant on it, making it a point not to let me know about this major hit on my civil rights.